Hey, welcome. Today, we are diving into something huge, a really ambitious idea. We're looking at a theory that says balance isn't just, a nice feeling. It's a universal, measurable constant, a force that supposedly shapes everything from the way a galaxy spirals all the way down to the stability of your own mind. So let's get right into it.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the big, audacious claim, a single equation for all balance. Then, we'll unpack its different parts. From there, we'll see how it could apply to our own minds, and then zoom out to see how it might shape the world of architecture. And finally, we'll land on a whole new way of thinking about what balance even is. It's going to be a journey from the cosmic to the human, and right back into the world we build.
Okay, so let's kick things off with the absolute core of this whole framework, the one big idea that everything else is built on.
Right off the bat, this theory asks us to just forget everything we think we know about balance as some vague self-help goal. Instead, it poses this massive question. What if balance was a fundamental law of the universe? As real and consistent as gravity. That is the scale of the idea we're playing with here.
So this idea has a name. It's called Crippin's theory. And really, at its heart, it's trying to build a bridge between fields that pretty much never talk to each other. We're talking hard science, geometry, architecture, and even our ability to feel empathy. All of it under one single concept of measurable balance.
And here it is. This is the key that supposedly unlocks the whole thing, the Atlas T equation. So T stands for balance, and it's the result of three things multiplied together. P for proportion, the Greek letter kappa for phase, and R for resonance. Looks simple, right? But there's a lot packed into those letters.
So, what on earth do those letters actually mean? Let's take that powerful but pretty abstract equation and break it down into something we can really get our heads around.
Okay, this is where the theory tries to make the math real. Think about running a marathon. P for proportion, that's your optimal design, your perfect stride length, which the theory often connects to nature's golden ratio. Kappa for phase, that's all about your timing, the rhythm of your pacing that keeps you from gassing out too early. And finally, R for resonance, that's your sustained stability, your ability to keep that energy and form going without falling apart. The theory says if you get all three of those right, you achieve T, a state of perfect, sustainable balance.
Now let's peek behind the curtain at the physics of this. The theory suggests that this perfect balance, this T state, isn't about being still, not at all. It's actually created by a perfect tension, a concept it calls equal force symmetry.
And this tension is supposedly happening between two conceptual forces. On one side, you have the reality field. That's the expressive force, all the stuff we can see and measure, energy, matter, all of it. Pushing against that is the black matter field. Think of this as the containing force, a stabilizing potential. It's really a metaphor for the boundary or the container that any kind of expression needs to keep it from just flying apart into chaos. The theory claims true stability happens in that dynamic, sweet spot, right in the middle of that push and pull.
Okay, so we've been way out there at the cosmic scale. Now let's bring this whole framework down from the universe into the most intimate system any of us will ever know, our own consciousness.
And this is where it gets super personal. The idea here is that our minds don't just think in words. They might be using a basic geometric toolkit to process feelings, make choices, and just make sense of our lives.
So this toolkit is laid out like this. You've got the triangle, which points the way. It represents clarity, focused attention. It's associated with fire. Then there's the circle, which is all about connection and emotional self-regulation, kind of like water. After that comes the square, providing stability and structure for our executive functions, grounded like the earth. And finally, you have the spiral, which is about growth and adaptation, what we call neuroplasticity, and that's associated with air.
And this isn't just philosophy. The theory actually tries to connect this to real neuroscience. The whole goal is to create harmony between two key networks in our brain. The task-positive network, that's your focused, get-it-done mind, and the default mode network, which is your wandering, reflective mind. The theory suggests that hitting that balanced T state is all about quieting the noise between them, basically uniting our analytical side with our creative side. Okay, so we've gone from the entire cosmos all the way down into our own consciousness. Now let's zoom back out and see how this very same geometric blueprint might just apply to the world we physically build around ourselves.
This is where the theory makes a really wild connection. It takes the Fibonacci seal, that geometric pattern of natural growth you see everywhere, and puts it right next to the Smith chart, which is a tool radio engineers use to manage energy flow and get the most resonance. The claim here is pretty mind-blowing.
What if the math we use to stabilize a radio signal is the exact same math that stabilizes life itself?
And the theory suggests we can actually see this T-equation made real in ancient architecture. First up, you've got the pyramid. With its perfect geometry and clear path upward, it's said to embody proportion. Then you have the ziggurat. Its terrace steps represent phase, a journey that's all about rhythm and calibration over time. And finally, there's the dome. Its shape creates acoustic harmony, embodying resonance, sustaining energy, and returning it.
This quote from the source material really just nails the whole architectural vision of the theory. It's about a fundamental shift from building things for dominance to building things for harmony.
And all of this leads to a pretty practical vision for the future, something called a living ratio city. This would be a city designed using nature's own growth patterns. It would be about building with the environment, not just on top of it. And it would be about creating architecture that's actually in tune with its surroundings, architecture that, in a way, listens.
So, let's try and tie all of this together. We've gone to the cosmos, into the mind, through our cities. After all that, what's the one single, most important thing to take away from this entire framework?
Well, the biggest takeaway is this. Balance, according to this theory, is not a destination, it's not about standing perfectly still. It's defined as an active, dynamic rhythm. It's a constant, harmonious movement where a system is always in motion, but it's perfectly stabilized by that very motion.
And to bring this giant theory all the way back down to the most personal level imaginable, the source material leaves us with this one last, really powerful image: the human heart as the ultimate tuning mechanism. The theory suggests that the heart's electromagnetic field, which mirrors the golden ratio in its rhythm, is what syncs us up with the larger geometry of our world. It's like it's embodying that T-equation with every single beat.
So, that leaves us with one final question to chew on. If balance really is an active rhythm, governed by some kind of universal geometry, then what pattern defines the most harmonious, the most resonant rhythm in your own life? That might be a pattern worth paying attention to.